$33 million.
$33 million worth of comics.
Comics and other goods inside.
Crazy.
Are you ready?
Well, I think so.
Huh? Okay.
Let's do it. This is crazy.
I recently researched 10 different hobbies, collectibles, or what you might even call alternative investment opportunities. The goal is to find out where cards rank in that mix and also find trends that we can apply into the card world we love. We're going to start by going over the most expensive piece sold in each hobby, as well as go over how many pieces have sold for over $1 million. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video. I've never seen anyone compare these different hobbies and collectibles, and you're just going to have a different perspective on cards by the end. I know I do.
Let me see here. This is a cool case, man.
Just pop it.
Oh, here. Okay. I think I should find a more stable place to put it. Wow, looks cool, man. Perfect.
Yeah, and it's got a nice acrylic case on it.
Sweet.
So you know the history of them, right?
Yeah.
So 4 were given out at
2016 fun days.
and only 4 of them have this, which is what makes this one so, well, you know, is what makes this one so valuable. There's what 3 wants more than anything in life. So there's only 4 of those.
There's only 4 of these.
This is the only one.
This is the only one we know of.
Yeah. So this is the only golden ticket we know of.
Number 4 is supposedly is floating around somewhere, right?
Somewhere, and then the other ones we don't know what numbers they're with. Number 1 doesn't have one. Number 4 doesn't have one.
So it wasn't like 1 through 4.
No.
It was just totally random. Okay.
Yep. Number 1, we know number 1 and number 3 doesn't have it, and 2 and 4 do.
There's more cash than I've spent. I don't know all of them.
It'll be worth it.
We'll see, man.
However, is a shockingly large amount. The first copy of a video game to be sold for over $1 million, this near-perfect example of one of the most important and beloved titles of all time remains unopened and is believed to be one of only 5 in the world still in mint condition, with it being the best of the best in even that exclusive list. To put it into perspective just how pristine this version is, another slightly less well-preserved copy sold at the same auction for a mere $13,200. As incredible as Super Mario 64 may be, it's hard to imagine paying such a huge amount of money for something you'll never be able to use, but somehow it's still not the most expensive classic game that's ever been sold. What is it? Number 1. Super Mario Bros. NES. $2 million. When Super Mario Bros. First released in 1985 for the NES, no one could have predicted the massive cultural phenomenon it would become. As they jump into the shoes of the iconic mustachioed plumber, players will platform their way through the Mushroom Kingdom, never resting until Bowser is defeated and they finally find the castle that houses their precious Princess Toadstool. One particularly expensive copy of the game, selling for $2 million in 2021, went for so much cash not only because it's in pristine condition, with even the tab used to hang the game from sales racks still intact, but because it's a version from one of the original limited runs of the game in 1985.
Earliest known regular season, Jordan worn and signed Nike Airship, sold for $1,472,000. Number 3, Kanye West, worn Nike Air Yeezy prototype, sold for $1.8 million. Number 2, Jordan 10, OVOs cost $2 million. Number 1, 1998, NBA Finals game. 2, Michael Jordan worn and signed Jordan 13S, sold for $2,238,000.
This is a 10, you know? That's gem mint, the best quality you could get.
10 on centering, 10 on surface,
Exactly.
10 on corners, 10 on edges. What's the most expensive Pokemon card you have?
Well, it's sold. People come and buy like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know?
So wait, you sold your Charizard?
No, it was an illustrator card.
$700,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have something much more expensive than that in the vault. This is signed by Neil Adams, by the way. He's one of the big Batman artists.
If you take all of these, like everything, it doesn't add up to just one of the crazy one in the vault.
Well, there's a lot of crazy ones in the vault.
Oh, really?
Which one are you talking about?
Well, the $6 million one.
That's the Superman one.
Yeah,
but there
yeah.
are other books that give it a run for its money inside.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so how much money do you think you have in there?
Oh, the vault is worth, I just insured it for $33 million.
$33 million worth of comics.
Comics and other goods inside.
Crazy.
Are you ready?
Well, I think so.
Huh? Okay.
Let's do it. This is crazy.
Come, please.
I'm used to expensive things, but this for sure I'm not used to.
So this is Superman #1. This is the one Andrew saw.
Yeah.
Okay. A recent copy of Superman #1 sold for about $5.6 million.
Wow.
And this is history, by the way. It's 1939.
Wow.
It's older than my grandfather. This is my Superman collection. So all of these books are minimum starting $5,000, $10,000, and you name it. Like, for example, I have this book signed by Michael Keaton. If you gave me $100,000, I'm not going to sell it because of the grade.
Yeah.
That's esteemed grade.
Yeah.
Now I have another book here, which is this one, signed by the creator of Captain America. You give me $1 million, I'm not going to sell this book.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. It's about getting it again.
The more you look at this, the more you discover things.
And since this home is inhabitable in imagination only, not even Barbie would dream of paying this much.
The appraisal is for $8.5 million, largely because of the contents. And the current owner has maybe 30,000 pieces, and so each one of these things is worth a certain amount of money, and that adds up very quickly.
The castle was built over a 13-year period, stretching across the mid-1970s and 80s. Its owners, who'd like to remain anonymous, are sharing it with the public for the first time.
1930s, there were literally hundreds of stamp dealers on Nassau Street here in Lower Manhattan. Now there's just one retail storefront in the entire city.
The British Guiana 1 cent magenta, what's widely considered the world's most valuable stamp.
Is the great rarities that bring the great prices. And this stamp, every time it is sold at auction, has always set a new world record price.
It's a market, and it's just like any other market, and it responds as a market. It could be the only one or two known copies, but if very few people want them, the price won't be that high. If we have at least 2 people interested, we have an auction, and if we have 4 or 5 people interested, we have a serious auction. Most collectors hope it's a financial investment, but the reality is it's just a hobby, and more expensive stamps, they're holding value reasonably well. The lower end of the market is suffering because we don't have the influx of young collectors, and I think the average age is over 60.
You're looking at the most valuable piece of sports memorabilia in history. It's a mint condition Mickey Mantle baseball card from 1952. It just sold at auction for, get ready, $12.6 million. Anthony Giordano is the lucky seller. He bought it for $50,000 in 1991, and back then it was the highest price ever paid for a card.
What did you think of that price at the time?
It was quite high because I think book value back that time for a 52 Topps Mickey Mantle was in the 20,000 range.
Giordano knew he'd made a great investment.
I guess it was about 7 years ago. We were offered a couple million for it, 2 million for it, but we just decided we didn't want to sell it.
This comes to us from Coin World, and a fascinating story indeed. History has been made on the auction site Sotheby's on June 8th, 2021. This gold coin, the 1933 Double Eagle, was sold. This sole privately owned 1933 St. Gaudens Gold $20 Double Eagle gold coin, the only one in existence that's in private hands, sold for $18,872,250. The single owner sale in New York City on June 8th was titled Three Treasures, collected by Stuart Weitzman. In the press materials for the Sotheby's wrote, the world-renowned high-fashion shoe designer had a childhood dream to one day own the two greatest stamp treasures in the world and the most famous coin on the planet, the famed double eagle.
For 31 million francs for the Patek Grandmaster chime. Ladies and gentlemen, once in a lifetime, only at Christie's. Sold for you, 9198. Now holding and waiting at 30 million francs. $370 million. Back to Francois' client at $370 million, ladies and gentlemen. 400 million. $400 million is the bid. Well, it is with Alex Rotter at $400 million. Leonardo Salvatore Mundi selling here at Christie's. $400 million is the bid, and the piece is sold. We move to the Leonardo da Vinci, the Salvatore Mundi.
Nearly 20 minutes of nail-biting bidding on Wednesday night shattered the world record for the most expensive work of art ever sold at auction.
$400 million is the bid, and the piece is sold.
While some in the art world have questioned whether the 500-year-old portrait of Christ is an authentic Da Vinci, the potential buyers certainly weren't concerned. With the fees, the final price tag for Salvatore Mundi reached $450.3 million.
So what does it all mean? While it was interesting, there's so much we could take from it. And first is rarity does matter. And this is obvious, and some of you are saying, of course. Every item on that list is incredibly rare. Maybe the best copy or the only copy of what was selling. And that same logic goes to sports cards or any cards. Pop count does matter. It's the same line of thinking. Now, it's not one for one, but anyone tells you pop count doesn't matter, I would be skeptical of what else they had to say about cards. The second thing is fine art is what all of these things aspire to. Who's to say in 200 years that some of the copies of cards or video games or whatever it may be, they're not selling for hundreds of millions of dollars? It's, you know, somewhat doubtful or hard to think about, but who knows? The way it's trending, these things continue to trend higher and higher, especially for the rare, well-made, sought-after objects. The third takeaway is Funko Pops have a long way to go, and they might just not be rare enough. Now, grading also exists in the Funko Pop world. It's relatively new in the past, 5 years. It hasn't caught wildfire like it did in sports cards. However, it took a while for grading cards to be the commonplace. Grading was around a long time before slabs became a huge hit. Finally, what's not a huge hit feels like stamps.
I was perhaps the fourth youngest person in the room. I will be 60 this year. The hobby is dead.
Every time I research stamps, that is the sentiment I got from everyone. Here, I just want you to think about this from a card perspective as well. Being a collector, and a dealer for 50 years. Truth is, normal common stamps will never be worth major money, as there are plenty. However, if you're prepared to invest in scarce and rare material, well, then that's different. For example, Cape Triangles will always get a good return. British South Africa double heads tend to give a good return. Put in card terms, that's saying that all the base stamps printed over the years are just junk at this point and don't have value. And, well, there are some stamps out there that will always hold a good return or some value. Before we move on, let's take a look at my fifth note, which is other. And I want to state that there are some other things I could have put in this video and did some research. Cars happen to be one. People spend money not only to use cars, but put them in a garage for safekeep and hopefully profit on them in years and years to come. Electronics, another one is weapons. But I left those off. They did not make our list. They have a little more use. Most of the things on our list are pretty useless. Anyways, that's not true for all things on the list, but some. Chapter 3 is the final chapter in our story, and what does it mean for cars?
I was perhaps the fourth youngest person in the room. I will be 60 this year.
Suffering because we don't have the influx of young collectors. And I think the average age is over 60.
Yeah. Can we show everyone what you have? It holds cards. It lights up. Bro, I'm geeking out. I'm sorry, guys. All right, man. Congratulations. What made you come up with this?
This was actually my Halloween costume.
That's cool, man.
He didn't want to bring his. He was in like a Pokemon claw machine.
I know one when I see one, because I am one. I'm a lifer, and this kid will be buying sports cards or collecting sports cards his entire life. And I don't know, I assume that's his brother next to him. And I don't know, man. I haven't seen kids get that happy about a stamp in my lifetime.
Whoa! That's the biggest bull in my life! That's the biggest bull in my life! They picked me a good one! Case hit! 1 of 1! What? Wait, seriously, no, it can't be. Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, 1 of 1! Whoa! Whoa! Oh, show it to the camera, Lincoln. Oh my god. It's real, it's real. I can't touch this. Oh, biggest pull in my life. I've never got a bigger pull. 1 of 1 Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani autograph. Whoa. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wait, I know how I got that. My cat's right there. It was...
Now, if we use the logic of wise and older stamp collectors, they're saying that their hobby is dead or dying because there's no younger collectors or people in the hobby. Well, it couldn't be far from the case when it comes to sports cards. There are many kids collecting, and are they all lifers? No. But there are still plenty of kids collecting, and really what that boils down to or means is as they get older, they can put more money into the hobby. Of course, there's ebbs and flows, and people get in and out and come back, and I assume that will happen over the next decades. However, what it also shows is that in 40, 50, 60 years from now, there should still be healthy demand for sports cards. While the stamp hobby seems to be dying off in a sense, I just feel it's the exact opposite for cards. It's also good to be reminded this could be the future of any collectible. But where do cards stack up compared to everything else on the list? While Funko Pops are the most trendy, I'd say, of any on the list, they also have a ton of licenses and a pretty decent business model. However, their most expensive Funko Pop ever sold was just maxed out at $100,000. So cards win. And really, to stay in that line of toys, the most expensive action figure ever sold is at $200,000. Again, not even close to eclipsing the mark of $1 million. And again, cards win. Just to recap, I have cards beating out stamps, Funko Pops, and action figures. If you disagree or think something else, comment below. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have fine art. It's absolutely number one in a class of its own, and all of these collectibles or opportunities of investment can only aspire to hang around for 300-400 years as some of this fine art or paintings have. Now, this is all personal opinion and just through research and findings that I did myself, but I'd also put watches in a category slightly above sports cards. They just have a higher, their market, the people that collect watches, have a lot of money. Although watches are semi-obsolete at this point, they're a sign of social status, and that's not going away. I'm being as objective as possible, and fine art and watches are just more prestigious than sports cards. That leaves 4 other categories: video games, sneakers, comics, and coins, and we'll just have a more head-on collision with cards. And when it comes to video games, there's only been less than a handful, I believe 4 video games that have sold over $1 million. And I think video games will continue to trend upwards, but who knows? It's just too early to tell with video games. And I think cards are sitting a little prettier, having been around for over 100 years, being collected and sold. Now, while I like sneakers, I'm not a sneakerhead by any means. And the most shocking thing of all my research is only 4 pairs of shoes, sneakers, have ever sold for over $1 million, and that this pair of Jordans is the most expensive of all time. Comment below if you have more knowledge. What do you think? Are sneakers or sports cards a more stable place to put your money? I don't really see sports cards going anywhere, and I guess I think the same for sneakers, but for me, I just think cards have more longevity, they're easier to store, and there's just a lot of sports card nerds. However, you could say the same for shoes. It feels like cards and comics have the most parallels or things in common. I don't have trading card games, it's just we're talking sports cards, but really it applies for trading card games as well, and then comics is a step removed from being a card. I'm saying this with all transparency, and it's obvious, it's a card channel, that I'm somewhat biased to cards. I would put cards and comics in the same breath, around the same ranking, with, video games and sneakers trailing just behind. Both cards and comics have quite a bit more history than the other, and that leads us to our last category on the list, and that's coins. And coins have, well, the most history. If you're talking ancient coins, you can go back close to 3,000 years, and more modern coins like this still date back to 1933. You could also make the argument that coins are made of precious metals, which have been valuable throughout history. However, coins that are worth this type of money are normally worth this type of money based on scarcity and not the value of the gold or silver. This is not an exact science by any means, and it's just opinion. I've presented my case. Here is my final list. And being a card person, I like that cards sit on the left side in 4th place. I like what the research presents. And if you like or dislike what I had to say, comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to think. I've had quite a bit of new subscribers over the past couple months, so thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so to help the channel grow. We're getting real close to 1,000 subscribers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like so I know to make more like it. If you haven't seen some of my recent videos, well, they're unique and you'll like them, so go watch them. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.
What up, everybody? This is Robert Ory, a.k.a. Big Shot Bob, and you're watching Professional Sports Cards. Hey, by the way, go buy my rookie card.